My husband started showing flu-like symptoms, and I took him to the ER, and they said, sure enough, he does have influenza A. They said this takes 10 to 14 days. They said he's not going to die from this, but he's going to feel like he might. And they said, take him home, quarantine him, keep him safe in his bed, and ride out your holidays. And 12 hours later, he died on our bedroom floor. And I was with him in those final moments. It turns out that what they thought was the flu was actually an infection in his bloodstream that attacked his heart and his lungs.
Sepsis, which is what took the life of Jim Henson, Muppets creator.
Right. It takes many people
Terrible.
every year.
Oh,
it's a thief. It really is.
In America. You know,
right.
It's not what you would expect.
Right.
Ever.
Right. Right. And so all of a sudden he was with us. He was very much here, and he was 35 and healthy. And then he was sick for just 12 hours and he was gone. And I was 31 years old, and I all of a sudden overnight became this widowed single mom of 2 little boys who were not yet in kindergarten. Everything changed.
You say, I lost my husband, my confidence, and nearly my faith.
It's very true.
Rob, a pastor's son, you're a family, a household of faith, but understandably this rocked your world.
Yes, the bottom fell out of my world, and I just began to ask God the really hard questions of saying, I've given my life to you. I've given everything to you. How did you think this was a good idea? Here I am with these little boys who don't have their dad now. How can this be? How can this possibly be? And God and I had some honest words and some shouting matches where I just brought it all to him and said, I'm going to need for you to show me what to do next.
We need to talk about the next. And the next step, and the next step is one of your keys to not caving to the I can't. Right. But it was stirring to read that you had a premonition about this as a young newlywed.
I did, yes. I remembered saying to a friend when we had just been married for a few weeks, and I was telling her about our wedding, and I remember saying to her, I don't feel like I get to keep him. I feel like I have him for just a short time.
Show us the tattoo.
Well, so this tattoo is of the word betrothed. And it was just a few days before Rob died, actually. I was in a coffee shop, and I was writing. I had many deadlines that I was trying to finish. And I decided to take a break from my writing, and I opened my Bible, and I read this passage in Hosea that says, I will betroth you. You are betrothed. And so I wrote down, it was like this poem was living in the pen that I was holding. It just was just spirit breathed. And I sat down and I wrote this poem that said, I am betrothed to the Lord. I am betrothed in love and in righteousness and in justice and compassion. And I will acknowledge the Lord. And I came home that night and I told Rob all about it, and how I had just had this encounter with the Holy Spirit to just remind me that I'm the bride of Christ. Mm. And it was that was on Monday night, and Rob died on Thursday morning. And I look back now, and I realize that God had said to me, you know what, sweet girl, we've got a really tough week in front of us. By the end of this week, you're not going to be a wife, but you will be a bride. And so I have just held fast to that word, betrothed.
Treasure to camp on in the wake. As traumatic as it was, God prepared you.
He did, somehow prepared me, and continues to go before me, to just hem me in behind and before.
You give so much, and I just want to make sure we don't miss this, because you are ministering on marriage, not just widowhood, not just going it alone with God, but you have a profound message about appreciating your spouse.
You know, there was a time, Rob and I had been married for probably 7 or 8 years, and I started to notice this root of ungratefulness. And that creeps in some subtle and dangerous ways. And for me, it looked like criticism. And there were things that I just started thinking that I wish he had done that differently. I wish he had said that differently. And I knew I needed to change it. I needed to change that, because ungratefulness can ruin anything quickly. And so I started just very quietly, silently writing down something every day for Rob, to tell him something, not to tell him, just to practice my own discipline.
What am I thankful for in this man?
What am I thankful for? And I started writing it down every day, and I wrote down things like, he brought me flowers today, or he gave the boys popsicles after dinner tonight, or whatever it was. I just wrote down something every day, and it opened my eyes to be aware of what he was doing, and the things that I truly was thankful for. And I wrapped it all up and I gave it to him on our 10th anniversary and presented this to him to be able to say, look, I've been watching and I've been listening and I love you and I'm thankful. And here's 2 years of pages of me keeping track of the things that I love about you.
2 years, wow.
And then he died 6 months later. And had I not given that to him, had I not given him that journal, he would have not known that I had been watching. And now that book is mine to keep. That journal is mine with all of those pages of things that just documenting years of the best parts of our marriage, the teeny tiny parts that are what marriages are made of salad dressings and unmade beds and laundry and French fries and things like that. And it's mine to keep now.
So much wisdom and so much practical help. You say, pretend you're brave, pretend you're normal. Is it still authentic when you're pretending? Are you still in the land of real in this choice?
I think you absolutely are. I think you have to choose. You have to choose your attitude and you have to choose the actions, and sometimes you have to wait for the attitude to arrive. And so when you choose to be brave and you choose to walk in confidence and you choose that this is who you're going to be, then you start to feel like maybe it is actually who you could become.
Now those precious boys, Tucker and Tyler,
Yes.
lost their dad in a night's sleep.
Yes, they did.
They woke up to no dad. How have they managed, Tricia?
They are beautiful and they are resilient and they are wonderful little boys, but they do have a lot of questions because that's a really horrific trauma to encounter as such young children. And so we talk about that. They call me to a place of honesty and transparency and vulnerability with their questions. And we talk on a daily basis of, Mom, what will happen if you die? What will happen when you're gone? What will happen? Because to them, they lost one parent so quickly, they feel no sense of assurance that I won't be gone tomorrow. So we practice and we remember that God takes care of us. We talk through who will take care of them if I'm not here. And we just live in this moment. They are tremendous young men, and I am so proud of them.
How old are they today? We have a picture of mom and boys.
Yes, they are 8. Tyler is 8 and Tucker is 9.
One's the artist, one's the athlete. And I picture you in these moments you write about. Tyler at age 7 stuck in a canyon.
Yes.
Those are moments where you really must say, God, was I really meant to handle this alone?
Yes, I decided to take the boys hiking. I decided to take them on an adventure, and I packed us up, and I mean on a Colorado hiking guide, this would not even get 1 full star in the difficulty of hiking trails. It might get half. It was not. I mean, I was in flip-flops.
This wasn't a technical climb or anything.
Not at all, not at all. But it felt like if I'm going to be in Colorado, I should at least steward the fact that I get to enjoy all of this around me. So I took these boys on a hike with me, and one of the things about boys is that they love the adventure and they love to have a battle to fight and a girl to win, and they wanted to go and just hike on their own for a little while. And so I said, I'll stay right here. I'll be right here at this table. You guys go, but make sure you stay together. Well, when Tucker came back by himself, I was completely alarmed. This was not the plan. And so Tucker said, Mommy, just come with me. Well, we went to go and find Tyler, and I could hear him, but I could not find him. And I could hear him crying and calling for me. And so Tucker led me through this canyon until we found that I was standing at the top and I could see just the marigold red hair of Tyler. And I climbed down there and I laid down on my stomach and I reached down and I pulled him up and I just held him and I discovered, okay, we are all right. I've got all of my chicks in the nest again, and I just wanted to teleport us back home. I really was just, what was I thinking? I am not the adventure girl. I am not the outdoors girl. That was Rob's realm. This is not even something that I should come near ever. And I got us home and I thought, you know what? That is something that I need to just put on the list of things to never do again. Never do again. But in retrospect, as I gave myself a little time to process that, one of the things that I realized is actually I did do that. I was victorious.
Woohoo, girl.
We did it. We did it. And so we had a couple mishaps, and maybe I'd like to not lose a child if I do it again. But I realized coming out of that I had like this 4-step guide of the things that I could do to be able to keep to do the next thing. And so I was able to, you know what? I stayed with it. I stepped up. I stayed calm. I was with my son and I helped him, and we lived to tell about it.
Can we just leave you with these 4 steps? Stay calm, step up as needed, don't put anyone at risk. Oops. Live to tell about it. These are practical for all of our lives. And I just look at that beloved on your wrist, and I know I don't need to ask the question, but I'm going to. Has God been a father to the fatherless and a defender of this widow?
In ways that I could never have imagined. He is faithful, and he has joined me on this journey. He's writing this story, and we're living it.